Hello. Nobody's here yet. I'm so bad at this. But I am excited about this one. Okay. Hello, everybody. Hello, Fasyali. Yes. I'm gonna add slowly. So, just as everyone is coming in, I just wanted to give a little intro that we are talking about. Hi, Chee Sek Thim.
Hello, hi, how are you?
So I'm just letting everybody in one by one.
Okay.
And then I'm also explaining to everyone what we're talking about tonight, which is uh the Leow Puay Tin. Hi.
Hey, Fasyali.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yep,
Yes, we
yep.
Okay, good.
awesome. Okay, let me just Arief. Thank you. Yay, everybody good.
Hey, everyone's here.
Hey,
Yeah.
Hi,
So okay,
Arief.
so
hi, Sek Thim.
explain. This is we'll talk about Leow Puay Tin and current not current but this weekend there's gonna be a new show. Leow Puay Tin latest play is being performed on cloud.com and it is actually directed by Fasyali. Fasyali, wave. Say hi, Fasyali.
Hi.
Yeah, yeah. So Fasyali, maybe you can introduce yourself for the people watching.
Yeah, hi guys, and follow of Leisha, Set Team, and also Arief. My name is Fasyali. I'm a theatre director, theatre maker, playwright, and also writer. So next week they gonna perform a live show titled Oppy Professor Communitas, written by Leow Puay Tin. Her latest work by Leow Puay Tin, and I think this is the second installment of Puay Tin's new work. Last 2 years we did a careless monologue. Also kita perform dekat Five Arts juga. So yeah, just a little bit lah. Intro okay ke?
Yeah, okay je. Like it's just for people to slowly get to know us kan. So I'm just adding the like title to the chat so that everybody knows what we're talking about lah.
Mm.
Yeah,
Yes. Okay.
cool.
So I've done that now. So hello everybody. Also, so just a quick intro, like because each of us have had very different encounters with Leow Puay Tin's work, and Leow Puay Tin is probably one of the most like, under the radar writers or playwrights in Malaysia since the 80s. And I think maybe you can introduce yourself as someone who has worked with it from the beginning or like since like the 80s and 90s, like maybe introduce a bit.
Me.
Yeah, okay.
Sorry, your voice keeps breaking, so I couldn't catch
Yeah,
all the
Oh,
words.
okay.
yeah.
Very
Yeah,
good.
yeah. My name is Sek Thim. I'm a member of Five Arts Centre, and I'm based in Penang. I have worked with Puay Tin's plays for a long time. I've performed in two of them, and I've directed in. I've directed. Sorry, I performed two, and I have directed two. So my first performance with Puay Tin's play is the play that I performed in was Family. That was in 1998, if I'm not mistaken. 1998, and it was a play that dealt with the history of this particular family that was helmed by a matriarch, and her name was Mrs. Young. So it begins with a celebration of Mrs. Young's birthday, and from there it breaks into many different modules that sort of tell the story of how her family came to be. So this entire episode was played out in an old house, in an old abandoned house on Jalan Tun Razak at that time. So we had a free run of the place, and and it was eventually, that particular play was eventually taken to Berlin and performed at the festival, the Geist, the Festival of Ghosts.
Oh,
Yeah. And my first directorial experience project under Christian Jit Director's Workshop, and that was in the early 2000s, if I'm not mistaken, was Puay Tin's Ang Tau Mui, which I directed as a 3-person ensemble piece. Yeah, and then later, but the last Puay Tin performance that I did was Cakap Dapur, which was actually the version of the play that Fasyali is directing. And I directed that. That was the first version of that play. And I directed and performed that play in KL.
good. Thanks, Sek Thim. So
When was it? When was it, Sek Thim? The play?
When was it?
Yeah.
Ayo. I can't remember. 2006. No, 2008. God, I think. Around that time, like.
I don't think that long ago.
You don't think that long ago?
Because I was already out of school by then, and I went to watch. I think it's 2015.
I was already in Penang.
Yeah, you already in Penang full time. So
yeah, maybe, probably. You're right, probably.
Yeah. 2016.
Yeah, around that time.
Okay, so just to introduce our other floating head down there, well, I on the screen, we have Arief Hamizan with us, and Arief Hamizan is a young director and also one of the co-founders of Panas Panas Theatre, and something that they have been recently, having like online reading sessions, and so one of the things that they did was have like people from Malaysian scripts from the 80s and 90s, like readings of it. And I just wanted to introduce Arief, and like maybe Arief, you can talk a bit more about Panas Panas and the reading sessions that you guys do, like just to introduce a bit.
Yeah, cool. I'm Arief. Yeah, as Lisha mentioned, actor, director, and also feeling irrationally nervous right now. It's kind of a new format, and I'm seeing names, so it's like I've never done this before. But anyway, yeah. So Panas Panas started last year. Myself and some practitioners who I've collaborated with over the past few years. We started during the pandemic because during the first lockdown, a lot of us were organizing reads amongst friends of different plays. And I think there was this curiosity amongst myself and my colleagues to look into Malaysian plays, because quite malula, we don't know, at least personally, I'm not as well versed with our Malaysian canon. So we thought that we would set up this program called Main Baca, which was initially for younger actors to join us every week, where we would find Malaysian plays and we just cold read them and then discuss them. And we would also, when we could, invite the playwright or any of the actors who had worked on the original productions to join us. So one of the first plays we read was Puay Tin's Three Children. And she did bless us with her presence during the discussion after. But yeah, it's since then we've read about, I don't know, 5 plays, I think. Not all of them are Malaysian, but we try to make sure that we are exploring different canons and always, when we can, returning back to Malaysia. So that's what we're doing here.
That's cool. So back to Puay Tin, I'm just going to explain like my own experience with Puay Tin really quickly. I studied under Puay Tin at university, and actually my mom, you know, I grew up with Puay Tin, and I didn't know it because my mom was doing theatre with Puay Tin. They did One Child's 1984 Here Now together, and a bunch of other stuff together. But my first ever experience with Puay Tin was this form of theatre I did not think we would be learning like right off the bat, but it was and it's something that Puay Tin has experimented with and been working with for a long time, and it's called the tikam-tikam. And I know Sek Thim worked with Puay Tin in terms of the tikam-tikam because family used the tikam-tikam method as well. Do you think you can explain the tikam-tikam a bit better, like for everyone to understand a bit more?
Tikam-tikam essentially is a game of chance. It was a very popular sort of a kedai runcit game, you know. There will be a board with many numbers, little pieces of paper that are folded, and inside the paper there will be numbers. And these numbers would correspond with a gift that is also pasted on the board, or they would not have a gift. So you would go into these shops and you would pay, you know, a small amount of money, 20 cents or something, and you would take a chance. You peel off a number, and if your luck is good, you get an expensive toy that is worth more than 20 cents. If your luck is bad, you don't get anything, just a thank you. Yeah. So essentially it is the idea of chance. The idea that, you know, you can't plan everything and have things fall into a particular pattern the way that you want to, because there's this elements that you really have no control over. So essentially, that's the basic idea behind Puay Tin's use of tikam-tikam. I used tikam-tikam in her plays, but I performed the tikam-tikam in her plays in only in family.
Yeah.
So in family, all the stories were broken up into modules, and it was all placed in this big circular board, and we would swing the board, and the audience would come up and roll the board, and wherever the board stops, that would be the module that would be played first, and second, and third, and fourth. So the sequence of modules that will be played differently every night. So it was quite a nerve-wracking experience for the actors who were waiting for the sequence of events before we start the performance, because if you have like 2 or 3 very energetic modules lined up one after the other, then that will be quite taxing on us lah. So that was the excitement and of tikam-tikam at that time. Yeah, so I haven't. There was possibility of doing that in Cakap Dapur as well, but I didn't, because it was the first time that the play was going to be performed in public, or the performance text was going to be presented in public. So I presented it pretty much the way that it was written, as it was written.
Yeah. I do have one. I'm interested in one thing, because you did mention that family was performed in Berlin, and tikam-tikam exists in. So I'm wondering, like, if people in Berlin, if the audience in Berlin, and did they also go through the same process of picking, or did you guys in Berlin have a set module?
I can't remember. I think we must have. It's strange that I can't remember, because I was essentially the master of ceremony, or mistress of ceremony, so to speak, was in full drag.
Yes.
I think it was. I think I must have taken a bowl of paper around or something. I don't know. I can't remember exactly what happened in Berlin. But in KL, we had this chart that was placed at the entrance of the house, and the audience would gather at the entrance of the house, and I would get the audience to come in, and they would pick the numbers, the modules. They would pick the sequence for the evening.
Cool. That sounds insane. Because I remember doing tikam-tikam. So what we did was I think more people are more familiar with another country where we exchange text between Malaysia and Singapore. Singaporean performers did Malaysian text, and Malaysian performers did. We were olds who would do like these really interesting Malaysian texts that were curated by Puay Tin herself. And I think but we didn't do the tikam-tikam itself. Like there was no game of chance. It was curated, and it was a choice by Puay Tin, which I'm actually very glad of. I'm very glad with because I think we could have handled it. Like it was a lot, but yeah, because so the tikam-tikam is always like interested me because it's also something that right. She like not only in terms of her scripts, but in terms of design like tikam-tikam to play with time, to play with space, to play with life, right? Like, you know, because especially as a playwright, you have all the power in the world to put things together and to tell people this is how it's going to be. But Puay Tin took that and went, you know what? I don't really want to have all the power. I want to see what happens when you don't have all the power, or at least this is from like what I've seen. So maybe Fasyali, if you can talk a bit about like working with Puay Tin's plays for the first time for you.
Yeah.
Can I ask a question real quick? Is that okay? Yeah, I'm just sorry, Fasyali. I'm just interested in terms of for Sek Thim and Aleysha, what did you notice from the chance at play? Like, how did it affect the performances or the experience for you as a performer, and also what you thought arose from it or like came out from that? Yeah.
Well, for sure, the adrenaline every night is very high, and the performance narrative also changes because we had more performance modules than we had time to perform. So inevitably, we would have like 17 modules, for example, and we would only choose like 14 or 14 performances. So the how the story is told then changes every night, and what is left out and what is included also goes into shaping the narrative. So you essentially have the same outcome, but different ways of getting to that point, and every night. So if you're obsessive compulsive type, then you will want to come every night to go and watch, try to catch all the modules that you have missed. Yeah, but of course, at the end, our last performance, we made it a point to perform the entire module or the entire play, so all the modules.
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's one thing that is that Puay Tin is quite insane lah. Now, I know she probably won't like me blowing smoke, but it's quite interesting how it works because what she did was she grounded us. So she gave us start with this and we're gonna end with this. So these are the because we tikam-tikam, we actually did tikam-tikam I think in the first Georgetown festival. So it was very nerve-wracking, but what she did was she was like, we're always going to, every night we're going to start with this scene, every night we're going to end with this. And I think that was great. And I think that was something that happened in family as well, if I'm not wrong, right? So yeah, Fasyali, like, tell us your first experiences working with whether it was, tikam-tikam or was it normal?
I never watched any of Puay Tin's play directed by anybody in the world. So the other day, Makte sent me the list of Puay Tin's work directed by other people before me, and I never seen any of it. So my first encounter to Puay Tin's work is through reading. I think it's from Staging History book. So they have Antaumui and also Three Children. So I read that, and also other people talking about her play in review and academic paper, and that's it. And I think my first involvement directly to Puay Tin's work is actually when we first did a project by Centre 42 Singapore. So it's to celebrate Three Children 30th anniversary. So they assign two groups from Singapore and Malaysia, which from Malaysia, me, Ali Alasri, your husband, siapa? Hanan Barakbah, and also Darin. We
Yeah.
devised a text from Three Children and respond to it. So we need to come out a performance in response to Three Children. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's actually not really directing that play, but like a new play responding to that. One group from Singapore also did the same lah. So the title is Ayu Game Saudara. So that is my first encounter. I mean first like direct not so direct hubungan relationship dengan Puay Tin's work. And yeah, so and then like I said just now, and then selepas tu we direct a Keres monologue, which Puay Tin's like asked me, and are you interested to work on my new play? And then I said, oh, of course lah. So we did a Keres monologue with the same cast, with Ali, Hanan, and also Darin, and we start from scratch, and of course work with Puay Tin that macam okay, this is first draft, and then night before show pun she can like macam okay, I need I do a little change here and there, so let's do this changes in the performance. And yeah, and then this is the latest one lah, Oppy and Professor Communitas. So yeah.
Oh, sorry. I was just gonna ask that. What's that like? Like, being someone yang tak pernah like encounter like Leow Puay Tin and her work. Lepas tu
Yeah.
tiba-tiba you have to react to her work, and then suddenly she's asking you to direct her work. What's that like for you? Like, what was that like for you?
I think it's very limiting my my view on her work, because her work is not available like on YouTube ke, or you know, so even I never read family, so I only know that family text exists from Makte, and I never watched Tikam-tikam because there's no text available. I don't know if there's a recording of it, so I never watched one. So yeah, I only depend on those two, script and the review and article that writing about that review lah. So because of that limitation, so my understanding about Puay Tin is, Puay Tin always tackle about identity. You know, this script is apa cakap pasal new way of storytelling, new way of performing, you know. So so that's it. And also like the picture included dalam staging history kan is very limited. And then suddenly, why this picture is here? What significant of this picture? Which scene? So I try to guess the mood of the performance, and also how director stage it at that time lah. So yeah, and then I think I face like struggle lah dalam masa kita handle Ayu Game Saudara and also Keres Monologue, because I think Puay Tin still discuss about the same issue, you know, but then no, Puay Tin cakap she tak interested pasal that anymore. And then I say okay, and then I try to understand her work in different view now, and also understanding on how she tulis naskah with different style lah, with other playwrights. Yeah, it's not just forward kan, it's like macam susahnya. Yeah.
So like, okay, this is a question for all three of you guys, because I know all three are directors, performers in a way, not even a way, performers and directors. But like, you know, especially the way you say like how you felt like it was the same thing, all this kind of thing. But what, uh, when Arif, you haven't directed a play yet, but let's say you would say are going to. But what attracts you to a Leow Puay Tin play?
What, sorry?
Like what attracts it about in play
Mhm.
that attracts directors, that attracts you as a director to want to perform her plays or want to direct her plays, just to want to stage her plays. Because she's really mysterious. But but if I'm correct, essentially she's one of the most staged playwrights in Asia and in Singapore and in Japan.
Mm.
So I find that
Mm,
very interesting that
mm,
a lot of people stage her plays, infamous stage her plays, but we don't hear a lot about her plays. But like in the two of you guys as directors, how like what interests you in a Leow Puay Tin?
mm.
And sesiapa boleh start dulu? Maybe Arief, you haven't spoken in a
Oh,
while.
okay, sure. I mean, the only play I've read is Three Family. What? Sorry,
Three
Three
children.
Children. So we're saying family or Three
Yeah.
Children. And I've read that a few times, and I think I don't know. There's a poetry to the writing, right? It doesn't reveal itself or what it's about at first glance. Because I think since the first time I read it last year, I've returned to it a couple of times, and there's something new or evocative every time you read it. When we first read it, it was a cold read, and it was with a bunch of young actors who I think I would say are quite distant from the era which Puay Tin was writing about, you know, the 80s in Malacca. Um, and their voices playing into that also reveal different rhythms, I think, and I don't know. I think for me as a director, there's something to uncover, or there's a fulfillment to the work of like interrogating that and because it's excavating some sort of history, right? Some personal history which is layered beneath something, but also it's very playful at the same time. It's really, really magical. Yeah, I mean that's what would draw me initially. That's what's been on my mind. Mm.
Yeah, I think being playful is certainly one of the attractions about Puay Tin's writing. I don't see them as much as plays as they are performance texts.
Mm.
Because the structure allows you to do many different things. You know, it opens up a lot of possibilities. You can choose what to highlight. You can choose what to push back. It has many possibilities, and I think that is a very seductive kind of a quality. You know, that the play that has or a piece of writing that has many possibilities for performance. And it's like the more you chew on it, the more you go through it, the more it reveals of itself. And it has a lot to reveal about each one of the plays. Has a lot of things to reveal. It has very specific cultural references.
Mm.
It talks about what it means to be Malaysian. It
Yeah.
talks about identity. It talks about historical circumstances. And in Nang Tamwi, it's a very spiritual. There's a very strong spiritual quality about it, and it's also very existential. It questions what it means to be alive, what it means to, you know, to have meaning in our lives, in our existences. So I think because of that, you know, the fact that it has many different possibilities, you can enter into the place, play into in many different ways. I think that makes her writing quite exciting to tackle.
Mm.
Yeah. Uh, yeah. What attract me? Of course, because her reputation. you know, and the second one, the text, it's so rich, you know, even you cannot miss any line without really digging, that macam setiap line you kena dig betul-betul. Why it was written that way and why this character do this and do that, blah blah blah. And because of it's so rich, so as a director, kita macam as I'm working to the script kan, like macam okay, now I need to choose which one, because of course Puay Tin wants to say this, there's a lot of things that dalam play dia, but as a director I need to focus, okay, let discuss, focus on this particular theme sahaja. Of course the other theme is pun penting juga, but then how I want to tell this story and focus only to this theme without abandon the other little story that is also important as the main theme. So yeah, it's and also the drama, I think dalam Puay Tin's play is not happen in that character. For me, I think the drama happen in like audience mind, director's mind. So there's a lot of things happening in our mind as we watch it. So that is the thing that I feel like macam, yeah, because if you, for me lah, if you want to watch Puay Tin's play because of the drama that happened on stage, sometimes you will like macam there's no drama in it, but the drama happens in your mind. And I feel like from what people talk about macam tikam-tikam, so people yang is more excited about the story. Kenapa I tak dapat tengok cerita ni and tak dapat tengok cerita tu? Oh, this night is different from the other night. So the excitement is on the audience for me. So that's why I think like macam benda tu yang attract me lah, to really buat benda ni. So because yeah, when you work with Puay Tin script, so the drama is already in your head lah. And one more thing, I also remember Puay Tin cakap yang maybe ni her philosophy, maybe I paraphrase but I think the idea of playwright as anthropologist, which I think macam so it is new way to work on her script from different perspective, you know, as she as anthropologist, not a playwright. So I'm really interested to see, to understand that how she sees the world around her and collect all the story, not as a creative person per se, but as an anthropologist. And yeah, and how me as a director want to bring that story to the table. Yeah.
I think to a certain extent also that that interest in a more anthropological way or approach reflects itself in the way she constructs her sentences. The characters speak in a way that is very particular to the cultural circumstances of that character. So when you read the sentences, the syntax doesn't allow you to say it in any other way except for that way that it is written. And when you say it, when you speak it out loud, you do suddenly realize that, oh, actually it sounds very familiar. It is not wrong. It doesn't sound wrong. Yeah, I think that also is a very visceral kind of a feeling when you read the text that she writes.
Yeah, I mean, I do have to agree with that, because I think while a lot of other Asian playwrights either go very Malay, their language is Malay and like the accent is Malay, specific like North southern accent, or like on the other side, just the language is English and they tend to steer towards a more Western way of speaking, or maybe a more urban way. Oh no, Fasyali, are you okay?
I'm okay.
Okay. Yeah, so like the others like the more Western way of speaking. So it tends dialogue allow you to know who exactly this person is just by the dialogue. You know, like, oh, okay, so this person is actually speaking Hokkien, but in English. Like, it's a very interesting, like, she uses Hokkien, like Hokkien grammar in English. And for me at least, it speaks a lot to like something that is very in the way we speak, right? As Malaysians, because we so many of us have so many different ways of speaking, and I think that thing that does, it might seem like very like simple, but it's also something so distinct. Like it's so easy. I don't know,
Mhm.
but yeah, I think I do agree with you, Sek Thim. Somebody did ask a question in the chat, so if you guys want to ask questions, feel free to. But like, this is what annoys me about Instagram Live. We only have an hour. We started at 9 and it's already almost 9:40. So I like finish that. I want to talk about this forever. But somebody asked in the chat, what makes Poetic different from other Malaysian playwright? This is Arshad from Revolution Stage. I think we kind of answered it, but maybe if you guys have any other like added points to that question, what makes Poetic works different from other Malaysian playwrights?
Can I
Yeah.
start first? Yeah.
Yes, go ahead.
I think the technique of her tell the story, it is so sangat different lah. It's so different. To compare with maybe we can compare with other playwrights yang seangkatan like K.S. Maniam, Kituan Chai, or maybe other penulis dalam bahasa Melayu, even Nordin Hassan or Syed Alwi, or latest playwright like macam Jid Murad or Huzi Sulaiman. I think we can see her style is so like different, even in the technique of storytelling tu lah. It's I think that is so macam betul-betul different and paling jelas that I can see. Yeah, that's it. I don't want to talk more.
Before everybody else answers, I think I know what you mean. Because when you watch or read it, you can't necessarily pinpoint the climax. Like the conflict is ever present. There's not like one moment when there's a huge blowout of conflict, you know, like usually. But like there is like from the get go, you know, oh, this is the conflict. The conflict is that's something that I realized. But what about
Well, I think that her works are different because they are not definable.
Yeah.
She does she switches between storytelling, monologues, and transcriptions of other people's texts. So depending on the issue that is of particular interest to her at that particular time. So I think the sort of ability to change or willingness, the embracing of change, embracing of difference, and the embracing of a wide variety of styles, so to speak. So, you know, the style doesn't define her. She chooses the style to use, or she chooses a form to use that suits a particular need. I think that's what makes her work stand out for me. Like I wouldn't say that I wouldn't want to make a sort of a compare contrast with other playwrights, but that's the quality of her work that stands out for me.
Mm.
Arief, I'm quite sure you have some insight after reading like the 80s.
Yeah, no, I I echo what everyone says, and I think also what struck me the first time I read Three Children was how different time feels or space feels. Like not only in terms of the non-linearity of the play, but also in terms of just when the children change ages, when they're playing, and it just becomes almost like a dreamscape. At least from my perspective, it's almost as if you're entering memories, and that was a very striking contrast to, I guess, other playwrights which we had read in that series, which were just they took place at the same time, and it was so different. There was such a big contrast, and I was kicking myself because I didn't know about this earlier. Because it really does, I think, make an attempt to articulate something more nuanced about identity, I think, or like placement of, because we talk about language and how English in its conventional form can't really articulate what we want to say, and I think that's what I really respond to when I read Puay Tin's work, at least that one play which I've read. Yeah.
I mean, we have all the time in the world to read more of it. Like, not it now, but I agree with you. Someone di Hamzah M. Tahir, and comment in Puay Tin, is a very, maybe that's also what her work so different. And maybe that is right, because Puay Tin did start with Christian Jade as a performer, or she started writing, and I'm not sure like how much that does her writing process or how much that goes into her work as a playwright. But I think maybe that does add a bit of something to it. I'm so sad. Oh, sorry, Sepi, please go ahead.
No, sorry to cut you off. Go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna say that we are running out of time. We are already like 15 minutes more only. So I just wanted maybe like to ask Fasyali, maybe you can talk about Oppy and the Professor Communitas.
Yeah.
Just to explain to everyone the play.
So maybe a little bit the process lah. Like I said earlier during this conversation, so this is the second installment of the series, Puay Tin's new work. So we did a Caress Monologue last 2 years, and this is the second one. We supposedly to perform it last year, like dramatic reading, but of course the pandemic hits and we need to change our strategy on how to bring the show to the audience. We have first workshop of the play, I think in May or June, with Faik and several other artists that helped Puay Tin read the very first draft, and then she changed from the workshop, and then now we use the ready text lah for the performance. I involved in that as like macam observer, and also we also give like macam bagi pendapat lah on this is work, this doesn't work, blah blah blah. And then she changed, and then I work like macam betul-betul last 3 month lebih kurang with the team yang sekarang ni. So now kita gunakan fully online. It will be performed through Cloud Theatre. It's still live though. I think 70% to 80% live with support of video recording, playback and stuff lah. but we still in doing it. I said to Puay also, Mark, the producer, we try to capture the idea of making performance, which is try to do it like as try to keep its liveness lah, the theatre punya liveness, and so yeah, we rehearse in our own space in our home office, and then last 2 weeks ago we started to have a rehearsal at Five Arts, but still using their own computer, and yeah, so next week we're gonna open to the public. And I should credit to Sam though. Sam, Samsul Azhar, the multimedia. You guys should see it because he's the real hero behind this lah. Because I am like macam computer, not really terror on computer things, and he brings a lot of things to the table and say, hey, Shally, these are other possibilities. Do you want to try this and that? Of course lah, as director, yeah, you can do. I keep requesting him to, okay, can we do this, do that? And then he always say yes, except like, okay, we don't have time, let's stick to this. So I think it's different experience watching this performance. I hope so. Yeah, and
yeah, no, that's cool. I'm already excited to watch it. But so maybe do you guys want to end with? So I had this question that I wanted to ask you guys, and I just want to ask, why do you think Puay Tin? I think maybe because I studied under her. To this day, I learn a lot from her, and I quote like the things that I did from her in Sunway to bring to wherever to of myself to perform for playwright. I think I'm always constantly asking, why is she so cool? I don't know what you guys think.
I think Puay Tin is cool because she's not afraid of change. And she's always able to dig herself out of any kind of situation that she finds herself trapped in. I think the last year, was a very clear example of how she had managed to maneuver around and the restrictions that the lockdowns have imposed on us.
Yeah.
So that's why I think she's cool.
That's I agree with that. Fasyali, Arief?
I've had one conversation with Puay Tin, and it was a great one. I loved it. It was recorded, and I listened to it again today, and I think there's a sense of curiosity is one thing, but maybe similar to what Sek Thim mentioned, the willingness, I think, to question methods or question convention and try and almost like find new spaces to play. She spoke a lot about language with us during our Q&A and about what you mentioned earlier, the reading it in English, but actually it's like Hokkien in the back of your head, right? And that type of experimenting, I think, is so needed in a country where our culture is often rigid or made rigid by institutions. So any sort of space to play, any sort of new ground, I think is something to be applauded, and that's why I think she's cool.
For me, because I work with her like macam 2 kali, and I get like macam fresh, raw input from her kan. What makes her cool because she actually listen, not just because me myself as a playwright kan, kadang bila kita tulis tu kita macam that's it, I don't want to listen to, and then cut off. But she actually listened and know how to work secara demokratik within the team, and allow herself like macam in the same page, but also know when to, okay, I want to do this, that's it. But know how to deal kalau macam kita kata are you sure gini-gini ke, so dia memang tukar tapi she will find ways to ni lah, right? So she's so cool, she always find her way to solve things. And also because I think her spirit is like macam orang muda lah, like macam her spirit like macam orang muda yang sangat berani, yang sangat macam like Sek Thim said, she doesn't afraid change, macam she keep changing herself. She's macam orang muda. I like that spirit.
I think that's something like a lot of like young or old or whatever, like they want
but I think sorry, maybe young is very macam limiting, but new and fresh.
That's why I just meant like as practice, tak kisah lah baru start, dah lama start ke, you tua ke, you muda ke, the idea is that you can always be ever changing, ever evolving. Maybe that's the whole point of poetry, right? With the tikam-tikam, is that you're not just one, you're never just one way of telling a story, right? You can be many ways of telling. And I feel like that was a great ending to this whole conversation. Thank you guys so much. Like, I really enjoyed it. I'm so sad that we have to finish it, but I let you go longer than an hour. Thank you, Sek Thim. If you are interested to join Panas Panas punya main baca sessions, you guys can email them. Go to their Instagram, Panas Panas Theatre.
That's it. Betul.
Go to Instagram, Panas Theatre, and then please follow Five Arts. You can follow everybody here after this to catch up on their work from On to Forever. Five Arts, you can check out Oppy your theatre. Dia macam lain-lain. I wrong information, so yes. And then very wave to Mark. Hamza Tahir said good luck Fasyali and team. And
Hamza Tahir is my lecturer dekat UiTM.
What? And then my mom Fatima Ubaka also says all the best to everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you for being tonight. I really enjoyed speaking to all of you. I really hope this conversation and perform in today. So go and share Puay Tin stuff further, guys. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, Aleysha.
Thank you.
Bye.